Hello and welcome to the Curiosity and Consciousness podcast with me, Karen Maloney. I am your host, and the intention of this podcast is to help us open our minds, get curious about ourselves, and to raise our vibration and consciousness levels. Through these conversations, we hope that you will go on an inward journey to discover the truth of who you are and to become aware of your own energy and vibration. We have the power to consciously create our lives, but we need to wake up to this fact before we can begin the process and learn the key of self-responsibility. Check out the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Acast, Castbox, or whatever platform you listen on, and please like, subscribe, and share the podcast. Leave a review, leave a rating, as this will help it to reach more people. Check out my website as well, Soul Power Light, www.soulpowerlight.com. Hello everybody, welcome to this week's episode of the Curiosity and Consciousness podcast. It is me, Karen Maloney, and thank you as always for tuning in. Super excited to have you all here today, where I will be sharing a little technique. It's like a little productivity hack. So we all have things we want to get done. We all have to-do lists. We all have goals. We all have dreams and desires and things we want to achieve or aim towards, and that's absolutely fine. Sometimes along with that though can come procrastination, lack of motivation, lack of enthusiasm, and just kind of a bit of a difficulty to get going. So I want to talk to that a little bit on this week's episode. First though, before we get stuck in, I just want to mention that I have a couple of slots coming up for coaching clients, looking to take on a few more clients in my work, my one-to-one work. So if this is something that you've been curious about, you're interested in working with a coach, please reach out and book in your free 30-minute discovery call, and we can see if it's a good fit for you. So log on to my website, soulpowerlight.com, and click the Work With Me section for more info or to book in your call. Some of the benefits you can expect is to become more resourceful. And for me, that's kind of everything. It's not necessarily the resources that we have, but it's our own inner resourcefulness. And the way we get to know our own inner resourcefulness as well is to build trust in ourselves, is to follow our own little nudges and guides and build that relationship to know that we're always being supported as well. And we do have our own personal truth and inner compass and inner guide that is always talking to us, always, always, always. But often we are not connected to it as much because we don't have that relationship. We don't have that trust in it. And we stick with our logical reasoning mind over something that we kind of feel to be true for us, even though we can't explain why. So tuning into our own resourcefulness, productivity, like we're talking about today, increasing our productivity. And that doesn't necessarily mean being busier, doing more. It just means like that, working to your aligned truth, kind of taking away all the fuzz and the distractions and what's not best supporting you, and freeing up some time to actually be more efficient and productive. You can build more confidence, connect more with your creativity, become more present, less stressed, have more fun. These are all benefits of working with a coach. So then back to today's episode and productivity. So we all have like that lists and things that we want to do. And sometimes the word that comes with productivity at times is overwhelm. I know if you were like me back in the day, I loved a good list and I would write lists to beat the band. It was the Virgo in me as well, that practical, that organized, touching on OCD of things I had to do, things I must do, things I should do. So first of all, there's a whole language around that, and when we add shoulds and musts and I need to do this on ourselves, already it can be limiting. It can feel like a lot, because remember I spoke about an episode before on language and the vibration that words carry. So when we use words like should and shouldn't, or I must do this, sometimes it can feel very restrictive and already highlight the fact that we're not doing it, and we can already feel like a failure, which can set off a lack of motivation and procrastination, because we're like, oh, I don't know how to move out of this. So always, language is an important thing that I always ask my clients as well to become more aware of and tune in and see what exactly they're saying, what language they're using, and how that is supporting them or not, or what would be a more supportive way that they can say these things because they're truths, but they don't feel so restrictive and limiting. There's still capacity for them to move forward and to work through them. So first of all, when it comes to productivity, it's notice what is the language that you were using around what you wish to do. And if you are making a list, absolutely fine, make a list. So then even looking at your list, because sometimes we can get into just list writing mode, and anytime anything pops into our head, we just add it to our list. But then we kind of need to go in again and just look at your list and actually maybe decipher and see what out of the things that you have already listed, what are actually real priorities? What are some things like that will really help, whether you or your business or your family or your relationship or whatever the list is connected to or the task is connected to? What is it out of what you have down that is really going to benefit you, that is really going to support you in every aspect of your life? So pulling out a few of the priorities. Okay, and then sometimes the big priority things can stay in our list for a long time because often they can seem again too overwhelming. So then this procrastination comes about. We put it off because it seems too overwhelming. We don't know how to approach it. So if you have an item on your list like that, that's just been rolling and it goes on to the new list and the next list and the next list, because you just can't seem to get moving on it. Well, again, there's always that first question. Is it something that is really going to light you up or really beneficial to you? But outside of that then, if it is, break it down. Break it down into really small, manageable tasks. Because often when we have an overwhelming task or something that we're putting off a lot of the time, we often just keep putting it off because maybe we feel we're lacking in information, or we don't know exactly how to do it, or we've never done it before and we feel we mightn't get it right, or if we try it and it fails, how's that going to look? So usually these kind of different scenarios or emotions or feelings can come up for us. So again, it's breaking it down. I know even like for me starting the podcast, I kept procrastinating and putting off because like that, it just felt so overwhelming. I had no idea how to start one. I didn't know anyone who was doing a podcast. There was just so much technology side. There was everything, all the different bits. But when we approach anything for the first time, there's always going to be that bit of hesitation. But then when we just really break it down and go, okay, well, first of all, I researched microphones and I was like, what is a microphone? And I bought the microphone. And then I'm like, how do I set up my microphone? And then I was looking into podcast host sites. So breaking it down into really small, manageable steps. And next thing, it just started happening. That overwhelm was taken out. And I was like, I just go for it. And if it doesn't happen to work out, or if it doesn't go the way I expect or have planned, that's okay. It's taking the pressure off ourselves as well. That then allows ourselves to just give it a go and just explore and see what happens. So we're taking the overwhelm out of it and really breaking it down. What is the first teeny tiny step even that I can do that will move me towards the ultimate goal. And again, once we get started at times, then it kind of flows from there. It's the starting that is often the hardest step. And in a lot of times, especially if it's something new, we'll always feel this hesitation like, oh, I'm not quite ready. I need to do another course or read another book before I feel ready. But then we also have to come to a certain point where we realize that we're never really ready and we just have to take the step anyway. So break it down, make it small, take the overwhelm out of it and just start. We're never ready. It's like just leap before you feel ready. And once the ball is rolling and you can break it down into really small, simple, manageable steps, it's like, okay, and I just do this and I just do this and I just do this. And then when you look back, you're like, wow, how did that happen? That's exactly how I look back in this podcast going, wow, how did this happen? So believe me, it's possible. The train is coming. I don't know if you can hear that in the background, but I'm taking that as a good metaphor and symbol for us all. Like just choo-choo, get on board. Even if you don't feel ready, just go for it. Take that step. And then the last thing that I will leave you with, a little tool that has really helped me as well when it comes to productivity and, breaking down these big tasks and taking the overwhelm out of it, is setting a timer. So whether that is, okay, I'm going to give myself 30 minutes of pure, undistracted, full attention and focus on X task. So say, for example, when I was setting up the podcast, I might be like, okay, I'm going to spend a full 30 minutes, an hour and a half, whatever it is. I wouldn't go hours at a time, up to 90 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever it is, of just researching microphones and making a decision. And I put my phone on flight mode. I literally set the timer as well on my phone, on the clock. I leave it aside and I'm like, right. And there's no internet. Well, sometimes you might need internet, obviously, to Google different things, but there is nothing else open at the same time. I shut my emails down. I shut everything down and I just have the Google or whatever it is that I'm doing, just that in front of me. And I find that is so beneficial in moving forward, because I'm like, okay, I can do half an hour, because usually you can waste the whole day tapping in and out, whereas if it's just create a block, set the timer, absolutely no distractions, give it your 100% focus for, I'd say, maximum an hour and a half at any one time. Even that's probably a bit pushing it, an hour. And it is incredible how much you can get done when you really break it down, set the timer, have a block, no distractions, and just go right and delve into it in that time. And then when your timer's over, you stop, because again, there's always more we can do, but you stop and you're like, celebrate yourself, going, well done. I'm so proud of myself. I did that. Yay. And move on to the next task or whatever else you have to go do. Okay, so they are some little tips when it comes to productivity. Again, this is a big, big topic, and there are certain things with procrastination. And why are we procrastinating in the first place? What is under the procrastination? Is there a fear? What is holding back at the end of the day? Or is it something you're doing that maybe you're expected or been asked to do that you really don't want to do? So it's a huge, huge topic as well, and so many other avenues you can delve into. And that's more in personal one-to-one coaching. We can go to different depths, but just as a productivity technique and some tips to help you prioritize your tasks. See out of your list what are real priorities, what are going to support you and others in the best way. And then if that task is really big, break it down. Take out the overwhelm, break it down into really simple steps. And then finally, set a timer. If you're taking one of those steps, set a timer, block time, no distractions, have your 100% focus and attention for that amount of time. When you're done, give yourself a little pat in the back and move on. Thanks as always to everyone who tunes in. I hope you find some benefit from this week's episode. Please always remember to like, subscribe, share the podcast, and leave a review on Apple Podcasts as well, because this helps more people to connect and find the podcast and all the episodes. Until the next time, have a fantastic week. Lots of love. And if you are feeling like you would like some personal one-to-one coaching, mentorship, guidance, reach out. If you're feeling lost, at a crossroads, overwhelmed, stressed, book in your free 30-minute discovery call and we can see what options may be beneficial to you. Enjoy. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you get notified every time a new show is released. Get more information on this week's guest as well on my website www.soulpowerlight.com.